Hello and welcome to this edition of the Mentors Masterclass, which is cool conversations with the world's most inspiring and successful entrepreneurs. My name's Dan Gerke, and I'm excited today. I've got a mentor of mine on the line today, good friend and mentor, Mr. Darren Little, known online as the MLM superhero. Darren, it's great to have you on the line. Just having a look at your bio here on your website. You've been involved in some pretty amazing things over your career. I'll just touch on a few things and then I'll let you tell a bit of your story. You were a contributing author to the Chicken Soup for the Network Marketer's Soul book with Mark Victor Hansen, Jack Canfield. You were instrumental in helping launch Pamela Anderson's modeling career. You were CEO and founder of bingo.com. Just some amazing accolades there. And I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, some of your story, and where you're at today.
Sure. Well, thanks a lot for, having me here, Dan. It's great to, see you sort of blossom into a leadership role yourself. So first of all, congratulations on that and really stepping into your power.
Thank you.
I have been a serial entrepreneur, Dan, for over 25 years now myself. I actually sort of started on the path as a graphic artist, and I wanted to actually be an engineer of all things, but I hated school, and when I found out that I had to go to university for 7 years to become an engineer, that pretty much kiboshed that path, right? But what was happening was that right when I was coming out of school to go into university, there was a massive recession, and it was almost like a depressionary time. In fact, at that time, interest rates shot up to about 20%. And my own family, I just about lost everything at that time, and it was a really, really stressful time. So my dad, who at the time was in real estate, he said, Darren, some of the largest engineering firms, like the architectural firms, are going under. Might not be the best path. And I sort of had to rejig. So I got into graphic design, and I thought in my mind, Dan, that if I could just get to $100,000 a year, that was going to be my gateway to freedom. And what happened was not quite like that. Okay, so I started off as a graphic artist, and I moved myself up to, marketing manager, and I moved myself up all the way up to the point where I was finally vice president of marketing for a public company. And, in my mind, I hit that goal. I was making over $100,000 a year, but I had no life. Literally, when I say I had no life, I had no life. Okay. So I was working 18 hours a day, sometimes all the way through the night into the next day, and then going to work. Okay. So I had to be in the office for 6 a.m. when the markets opened. And from 6 o'clock until 1 o'clock, I was handling the market. I was dealing with the brokers, raising money for the public company. And then after 1 o'clock ended, that's when my real job started, which was to write the press releases, do the graphic campaigns, design all the ads, do all the media placement, and actually do the campaign that was going to get the investors interested in buying the stock for the company. And it literally became consuming of my life. When I say consuming, I'm talking about that I had nothing, there was nothing else on my life other than work. Okay. So when I was away from work, I was still working. Okay. When it was the weekend, I was still working. And a lot of times working on the weekend. And during that time, two of my very best friends who were under the age of 50, I'm talking 46, 47 years old, they both died, right, from a heart attack just because of the stress load. So I realized if I didn't figure out a better way a gateway to get out of there, that there'd be a good chance that I'd be the next guy in the coffin. So I really started to have to reevaluate where my life path was going, right? And that's really what started me on a different path into affiliate marketing, network marketing, direct sales, in really understanding how to leverage, right, the power of people, how to leverage the power of a team. And it was one of my first millionaire mentors that said this quote from J. Paul Getty, which I'm sure that you've probably heard, that I'd rather have 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of my own. And when I first heard that, it was like this bing, this light bulb went on, and I really, really got that concept. And that's what really sort of guided me onto the path of network marketing. But the model that I started out with is not the model that I ended up with, right? I started on the model of making a list of my friends and family, inviting them to take a look at a presentation or a video, getting them on a three-way phone call. And my mentor at the time was making $50,000 a month. Okay, now for a guy that's making, say 10, working 18 hours a day, all-nighters and weekends, that $50,000 looked really, really attractive. But as I got better, like as I honed my skills and I got better and better and better and better, three-way phone calls literally became like the 18-hour job that I hated, right? So from 7 a.m. in the morning until 2 a.m. the following day, I was on three-way phone calls. And a lot of days, at the end of the day, I had no voice, literally no voice at the end of the day, from being on so many calls, back to back, back to back, back to back, conference call, three-way call, conference call, three-way call, until finally I said, enough's enough, okay? Because it was almost like I was preaching a dream to everybody, but my personal life was a freaking nightmare. And I would not wish that on anybody, to have to go through that. So the best case scenario, right, is that you get really good. And the better that you get at closing people, the more every single person that's your people, your people's people, your people's 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 people, they all wanted me on a three-way phone call. And I thought, you know what? If this is what it's all about, I'm out. So I literally got to a point where I said, okay, if this is really what it means to be a top network marketer, this is a lie, because this is definitely not a life of freedom. And I literally just about quit the industry completely, right? Because I thought, I left the 18-hour job not to get another 18-hour job. I left it because I thought I was creating freedom for myself, and it didn't work out that way. And it wasn't until I went on to Google and I thought, okay, how to become a top recruiter? How do you market online? How do you generate leads? Until I started to go down that path and started doing more research, that's when my life really started to change. That's when the gateway really opened up for me on my path.
Very cool. That's awesome. You mentioned that you've had a few mentors along the way. One of the first questions I always like to ask is, who have been some of your biggest mentors, and what role have they played in your journey from where you were to where you are now?
The first mentor that I had was in my early 20s, and that was Tony Robbins. Tony was really my introduction to personal development. And what I didn't even realize when I started into this industry is it's really personal development disguised as a business. It's not a business of selling products. It's a business of leadership. I didn't know that going in, okay? So Tony was really the person that, taught me a lot about mirroring and modeling, neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, really about the importance of goal setting and, things that you can do, strategies that you can do to overcome fears or, leave the past behind. But when I went through all of that training and I walked on fire and I did all of that training, there was some missing little thing, right? Sometimes our intuition internally, there's something, something's not right. What do I need? I need something else. What is it? So I went to the forest and I started to basically proclaim that I'm ready for my breakthrough. I'm ready to go to the next level. Bring somebody into my life, tell me a book, a tape, something, right, to get me to my breakthrough. And wham, along comes Dr. Lee Poulos. Okay. Now, Dr. Poulos really focused in on the power of visualization, visioning, and the subconscious mind. And he taught me a lot about what's called the time continuum, the past, present, and future, and how the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference, right? Now, I worked with Dr. Poulos for 3 years as Vice President of Marketing. And that was really, he taught me between, what I learned from Tony Robbins, what I learned from Dr. Poulos, and then I had one network marketing mentor that taught me a lot about really how this industry works. Darren, I don't want you talking about our company. I don't want you talking about our products. And coming from features and benefits, it was a complete paradigm shift that I had to go through in order to really understand what recruiting even is, right? Because products are sold, but they're sold in a different way. It's almost like a roundabout situation. So Dr. Poulos, though, really gave me the formula on how to become a millionaire. And it's not even what people even think. I can tell you that. And I cover a lot of this in my millionaire mentoring training, because the what I call income producing activities that people do are not even the things that they really need to be doing to manifest and get to millions. So when I was working for Dr. Poulos at 30, he taught me this specific strategy, and following that strategy, I didn't even realize what was going to happen. So keep in mind, at that time when I was working for Dr. Poulos, I was probably only making, say, $65,000 a year. So for me to be thinking about making $1 million, it was like looking up at this giant mountain on how am I gonna conquer this mountain to get to the top. But what's interesting is that once I got to that $1 million level, looking up now to $1 billion seemed like it was going to be just like, this easier street, so the first one was like, bam. And then the next one from $1 million to $1 billion was like, oh, I can do that, right? So everything changed with the mentoring. So with the network marketing trainer, Harvey Connor, then it was Tony Robbins, and then Dr. Poulos. But still, there was a little tweak that I needed, and that was Dr. Darren. And he's the one that really taught me the equation for manifestation, how it works, why it works, the power of the law of attraction, the secret beyond the secret, the attracting force, and really how to create my reality. He was really the final piece of the puzzle. So when I collectively put all of those components together, it's not like I can say, oh, it was just that guy. Oh yeah, this guy was the guy, right? It wasn't like that. And what people got to really understand is that if you really want to go next level in your entrepreneurialism, is that you've got to really look at a number of different areas. It's not just about goal setting. It's not just about taking massive action, because you can have the goal setting down and the massive action down, but if you haven't cleaned up your timeline and the time continuum, you will implode, right? If you don't understand about the ego, you will implode, right? So there's all these different little pieces of the puzzle that all fit together almost like the Rubik's Cube, right? And once you get all of them, then you go, oh, now that makes sense, right? But there are all these little tiny pieces that are really required if you want to actually not only make the money, but keep the money, right? It's like a lot of people make the money and then they lose it all, right? So they're all really, really important on that path.
For sure. So on that journey, what did you learn along that path that is different than what you thought it would be about creating success? What notions did you have before you got started that you've now looking back and say, well, that was totally false. I don't know why I thought that.
Okay. That's a really good question. A couple things. One is that when I first started, like when I came out of high school, the blueprint that I was led to believe is that if I just got like a university degree, that was going to be my gateway to freedom. The challenge was that even at the time when I was going into university, I knew people that had already been to university that had a Bachelor of Arts and maybe even a master's, and they were broke. They were unemployed. They were waiters with a master's degree. So it's like, this doesn't make any sense. Something's not jiving here, right? It doesn't make any sense. So it's not really about the university degree, right? It's really about mentorship. So that would be the first thing that I would completely kibosh, is that, and here's a perfect example. My son, who's 16 years old right now, I brought him into sort of under my wing into Millionaire Mentoring. His first day, he made $326 online. And in a 24-hour period of time, he made $652, okay, at 16 years old.
That's awesome.
Now, in the event that he was at 16 years old working as a busboy or as a waiter or whatever, in fact, I don't even think he could be a waiter until he's 19 in the States. But how many hours would he have to work, right, to be able to make $652 that he got, boom, in 24 hours? But without a mentor, right, that couldn't have happened for him, right? Because it's like this unknown, it's an unknown territory. You got all this foggy stuff out there that, what do I do? How do I do it, right? It's like the unknown zone. But with a mentor, it's almost like walking through a minefield with a minesweeper in front of you. So it's like, oh, don't step there, right? That's the importance of having a mentor. So my old belief of university education is going to be creating my freedom is totally false. Okay, mentorship is what's going to get you to freedom. So that's one thing. The second thing, what I'll tell you, is that success is actually a radio broadcast frequency. Okay. Now, when I first share that with people, they're like, huh? How's that? What are you talking about? Right? Now, what you've got to understand is that everything that's here, this, right? This, right? All of these things, they hold a certain vibrational resonance to them, like a tuning fork, right? So if I take a tuning fork that's a C tuning fork and I go wham, and it goes wham, and I put any other note of a tuning fork, nothing will happen. But if I take that C, bang, wham, and I take another one that's a C, this one that I haven't hit will start, it'll start humming too. Now our bodies, the physiology in our body works exactly the same way, okay? Now, once you get this, once you really understand how this whole process works, that the body holds a vibrational resonance, and what's actually keeping it suppressed is your timeline, right? All the shit that you've gone through, all the disappointments, the failures, the failed relationships, the emotional abuse that you may have got from your parents or your teacher, your relatives, emotional abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse, all of that stuff that's back there will not allow this to go to a higher resonance. So once a person can actually get rid of that baggage, they can go into a higher frequency to be broadcasting out success. Now, the gateway for me, quite honestly, was when I was working for Dr. Poulos, and he said, Darren, you know, what kind of car do you want to get? And I said, oh, I want to get a Porsche Carrera, right? And he says, you sure about that, right? Absolutely. I mean, I've been dreaming about that car since I was 5 years old. So I said, okay, if I tell you exactly what you need to do, will you do it? Kidding me? Of course I'm going to do it. 100%, 150%. I really want to get that car. So he said, okay, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to make a trip to this dealership, okay? But before you even go there, you've got to get here that you own the dealership. Okay, so when you walk into that room, into that showroom, your energy force has to be at such a resonance that it's going to come in and wham, come in that door. Okay, so he says, dress for success when you go in there, like you're already a millionaire, which I did. Okay, so I put on some you know, my black slacks that I had. I mean, they were crystal, you know, perfect iron down the center with my creases. Okay, I had a shirt on that was white. It was like medium starched. I mean, it was very crisp. Okay, and I had a colored tie, and then my jacket with gold buttons and stuff, and shiny shoes. Okay, it was very important. He set the parameters for this for me, so that it was literally put in a blueprint in my head. Okay, because he said you've got to be able to hear the sound of your shoes going across the tile floor. So I said, okay, step one, you have to surrender your pride and your ego. Okay, and this is what really holds people on to being broke. Okay, step one, surrender your pride and your ego. You got to go talk to the sales manager, and you got to tell that guy, you sit down, build some rapport with them, you know, make them laugh. And then you got to say, you know, listen, I'm really hoping that I can get your help here, because at that time I was vice president of his company. I said, you know, I'm vice president of marketing with this company. And part of my job is that I have to come down here to the dealership once a week and go through a visualization in one of these vehicles here. And I'm really hoping that I can get your support, because if I don't, they're going to fire me. Now, a lot of people won't do that, Dan. They won't go through that first step to surrender their pride and their ego. Now, I didn't realize this back then. I do now as a millionaire mentor, that's step one that a person has to get through. He was teaching me these things in a different way, in a roundabout way. So he said, you know, after you get the help from this person, you've got to go there for, you only have to be in the car for 5 minutes, okay? But you have to go through and open up all of your senses, okay? That means your sound to the shoes, right? Your touch, right? To opening up the car door. Don't open it up really fast. Open it really slow until you can feel that pop ripple through your hand. When you open the door, don't just open it, right? Open it and wait for the woof of leather to activate the sensation of your smell, right? And when you're looking inside the car, pay very close attention to the attention to detail, okay? So the stitching, the leather, everything that's in that vehicle, open up all your senses. And then I want you to have a conversation with the car, okay? So I want you to, first of all, breathe in and then become the car, morph into the car. Now, what I didn't realize at this time, Dan, is that what he was teaching me was actually about vibrational frequency, okay? Because the car holds a certain resonance to it. So what he was teaching me was to surrender to wealth, surrender to abundance, become the car. He said, become the car, morph into the car. And then, you know, once you go through this, tell the car that you're really looking forward to it showing up in your driveway, and then thank the car. Thank the car for the time that you've spent with the car, and tell the car you're going to be back next week and you're really looking forward to seeing it again. Okay, now what I'll share with you is that most people would not do this. Okay, every week. When I say every week, I'm talking every week. Now, you got to understand this. At that time, I was not making a lot of money. I was only making like $5,000 a month, okay? I didn't even have a car. Had no car. I was borrowing a car, and it was a 1989 Pontiac Firefly that wasn't even mine. But here's what I will tell you. It was clean, and the tires were armor-alled. And when I drove in, right, and I got out, I looked like a millionaire because that's what I was taught. That's what my mentor taught me. Now, what I didn't know, okay, I thought that I was going in to get the car. I thought that's what the process was about. What I didn't realize was he was teaching me about vibrational resonance. And when my body raised in its vibrational resonance and I became the car, okay, 11 months later, I showed up and said, I'm here to pick up my car. Okay, now, the interesting thing is they said, you know what, Darren, we didn't know when this was going to happen. We knew it was going to happen. They all knew me by my first name in that dealership. But when I bought that car, okay, right out of the showroom, they actually took about $7,000 off of the retail price of the car because the sales manager said, well, it's pretty obvious, Darren, there's been no salesman involved in this transaction. So they reduced the price of the car by like $7,000, right? And I drove out there with a brand new 996 Carrera. Now, what I didn't know is that at the same time that $1 million was going to show up. I didn't realize that I was going to have a huge mansion in Vegas and that I was going to have another property here in Vancouver and a vacation property, and that my life was going to completely transform based upon going to that dealership once a week. I had no idea. I didn't know how any of this stuff worked. Now I do now. I mean, now looking backwards into my timeline, I get it now, right? But I didn't then. This was like I surrendered. I surrendered my pride and my ego. I trusted my mentor that he knew something that obviously I didn't know because he'd already made millions. And I just walked forward in complete blind faith. I didn't say to him, well, thanks a lot, Dr. Poulos, but I'm going to go once every 2 months. I didn't do that. I listened to exactly what he told me to do. Now, I realize now how this all works after meeting Dr. Darren and understanding vibrational resonance and quantum physics. Now I know, but I didn't then. So the point of that, a point of this, Dan, is that you don't have to know everything for it to work. You don't have to even know how it works. I mean, heck, I don't know how my microwave works, right? I don't know how this works. I don't know how I can get a phone call on here it's not even connected to anything, and I can talk to somebody around the world. I don't know how that works. I don't know how Skype works, right? I don't know how a Google Hangout works, right? But you just got to trust the process, and you've got to trust that there's other people that have the knowledge that are willing to share it with you. But if you don't get your pride and your ego out of the way, it's like literally taking a glass like this or a cup, putting saran wrap over top of it, and then putting it under the tap and trying to put water in it. It's never going to happen. The cup will never fill up with water. It's got saran wrap over top of it, right? It ain't going to happen, right? So once a person, is willing to just surrender their pride and their ego, and be coachable. That's the first step to advancing to the next level. And I can tell you this, the majority of people won't do it. The majority of people will not do it. The simplest things, okay? The majority of people want to actually prove that they know, even though they don't know, or prove that they know more than the mentor knows, which is kind of like ridiculous, but it's part of our human condition, right? It's part of not wanting to let the ego go and empty our cup, so to speak, so that we can bring in more information that we didn't know before, right? Because if you already know everything, I can't help, right? You know what I mean? Makes sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. Those dangerous words. I already know that. So clearly you could talk on this subject for hours, but I want to be respectful of your time. One of my favorite quotes, I carry this around in my pocket. It's Zig Ziglar's quote that you can have everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. And so I want to ask you, Darren, a final question. How can I help you? How can people get in touch with you? Where would be best for them to go and see more about what you do and who you are? What's the best place to get a hold of you?
Well, the best thing, truthfully, is the good old fashioned one of these, right? Which a lot of people don't do, and that is really the core to business, right? What I tell all of my students is that stop hiding behind your computer, right? Like, reach out to people, say a quick hello to them, either on Skype or by phone. And, in the event that you've been inspired by something that they've done, just give them a quick call. That's how relationships start. So my direct line is 604-771-1901. My Skype address is Darren Little 11. They can also go to darrenlittle.com if they want to download a copy of my training manual, where I talk a lot about affiliate marketing, network marketing, and ways that you can actually fast track your career by at least 3 to 5 years once you understand this industry. Once you understand that it's not about pitching people, it's actually about helping people to solve their problems, right? And every person's going to have a different problem, right? So once you get that, it changes the dynamic of what I call the polarity of the magnet. So if I'm going this way and pitching somebody, they're typically like, I'm good, right? But if I'm finding out about the person and finding about their pain, their problem, and their passion, right? Now I'm getting a connection and I'm getting out of the way and I'm getting to something other than me that's going to talk about my business, right? And that might be a video, a conference call, a DVD, a CD, something other than me that's going to be talking about my business. And if people get that, anybody can become a top recruiter. Anybody can become a leader in this type of a business model when you take the focus off of your products, off of your company, off of, have I got a deal for you, right? Off of that and onto this, which is the relationship, the connection. What's happening in that person's life? Are they in a peak? Are they in a valley? What's going on? What's happening with their family? Are they living their dream? Are they living their passion? And if not, what's their passion? If you can find out a person's passion and get them emotionally connected to that, and then direct them to something that's going to help them live their passion, they will actually be looking at your opportunity with a completely different set of eyes and ears, okay? Because now it's about their dream. It's not about your dream, it's about their dream, right? So hopefully that makes sense.
It does. That's priceless advice right there, Darren. So that's what we've got for you today here on the Mentors Masterclass. I hope you enjoyed this session. Definitely click the link below and enter your email address so you can be notified of all future interviews. And again, Darren, I want to thank you for your time. I so appreciate you coming on the call today. there's no doubt in my mind why your son is having great success and why all your students have such great success. You're an amazing mentor, and I'm honored to have you in my life and to be able to learn from your wisdom and knowledge. And so I encourage everyone, please do go to Darren's website, check out what he's all about, and connect with him as well. And you won't be steered wrong. So that's the call for today. Make it a great day, everyone. Put your name in the email box below so you can be notified of future interviews, and we'll see you on another call. Bye for now, Darren.
Thanks, Dan.
Have a great day.